Hi, this is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. As you can see, I have a wide variety of topics that I cover. There's some true crime there. I love unsolved mysteries, and I always have. Things like the D.B. Cooper case, because I live in the Pacific Northwest, the Zodiac case. And while I'm not as into true crime that's been solved, I do like unsolved true crime. And one of the ones that I was watching from a great channel, Black Box Online Radio with Black Box Ned, he's starting to do a series on the JonBenét Ramsey case. And I find it interesting because there's evidence that was left there. There's a lot of evidence pointing in both directions. There's a ransom note that kind of looks odd. Things that the parents have said and done that can be interpreted different ways. But it now seems that there's DNA evidence. A lot of people still think that the parents did it, that the father did it, that the mother did it because JonBenét wet her bed. People believe that her older brother, who was only 9 at the time, Burke, did it. The police and DA have come out and said all along that he was never a target of the case. Anyway, be sure to check out all of Black Box Online Radio's programs, but this is the one that I watched yesterday and prompted me to create today's video. So one of the people that's involved in a lot of the analysis is Dr. Michael Baden. And he, like a number of these famous pathologists, medical examiners, kind of shady. I don't always agree with a lot of their conclusions. Not that I'm an expert, but sometimes just using simple logic would indicate that they might be incorrect. So let's look when you just type in that AI gives you a summary. Dr. Michael Baden, a forensic pathologist, has been involved in the JonBenét Ramsey murder case as an investigator and expert witness. He has publicly stated that he believes the murder was likely committed by someone within the Ramsey family, citing inconsistencies in the ransom note and the lack of evidence for an intruder. And I'm going to stop right there. From everything I've read, there was a door that was unlocked that an intruder could come in. There are also some windows. It looks like the windows to the basement, while they were unlocked, probably weren't accessed based on various things, including spider webs. But the spider webs, people pointed out, don't take very long to create, and the spiders could have created them after somebody had gone through it. But certainly having an open door or an unlocked door could have allowed somebody to get in, an intruder. Okay. He also notes, this is Dr. Michael Baden, he also notes that the foreign DNA found on JonBenét's body does not necessarily implicate an outsider. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So here's a more detailed breakdown that AI has come up with. Dr. Baden has been consulted on the case and offered his expert opinion on various aspects of the investigation. And of course, whenever you have a trial, you have experts on both sides. So you have to weigh the evidence, with that in mind. Insider theory. Baden has consistently leaned towards the possibility of the murder being committed by someone within the Ramsey household, specifically citing the ransom note as evidence that it was not a typical kidnapping scenario. A lot of people would disagree with that. And of course, in a majority of cases where children are killed, it's from a family member or somebody in the house, such as a nanny. Okay, DNA evidence. Baden has downplayed the significance of the foreign DNA found on JonBenét, stating it could have come from various sources and not necessarily from the perpetrator. He also mentioned studies that found trace DNA on underwear left by random people. I don't know if that's really the case here. Ransom note. Baden pointed out that the length and specific wording of the ransom note, along with the demand for the exact amount of John Ramsey's bonus, suggested an insider's involvement. Well, it could have been an insider at his business or somebody handling payroll or all kinds of things that wouldn't necessarily suggest one of the two parents or both of them. No vaginal penetration. Baden noted the lack of evidence of vaginal penetration, which he considered unusual in cases involving a sexual assault component. People would disagree with that there was no vaginal penetration. If you read Wikipedia, it says that her vagina was wiped with a cloth or something. Mistakes in the investigation. In an interview, Baden mentioned that the case was begat by mistakes. It's missing a word there. Theories, lawsuits, and arrests that produced nothing, according to a page 6 article there. Let's look at his Wikipedia article here. So he's been involved in a number of very high-profile cases. He was fired and then reinstated for some comments that he may have made. He worked on behalf of Phil Spector, who we all know killed the poor woman in his house. Nevertheless, Dr. Baden was defending him, looks like. His analysis of the O.J. Simpson case probably is quite mistaken. And in fact, it says, Baden testified in the O.J. Simpson trial on August 10th and 11th, 1995, and made 2 claims that he later disowned. And then it talks about them, and that's not really germane to the JonBenét Ramsey debate, but be sure to, do your own research. Don't base any of your thoughts on what I happen to say here. He thinks that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, not suicide. Also, in the Phil Spector case, in 2007, Baden testified on his new theory on the death of music producer Phil Spector's victim, and her name was Lana Clarkson. He sought to provide an alternate explanation for blood on the victim's jacket. When asked by a prosecutor if he had any conflicts of interest, Baden replied, quote, "None that I can think of," unquote. It was later revealed that his wife was one of Spector's main attorneys. That certainly would be important to the case, and him saying that he can't think of any conflict of interest, I would say, based on this, is just an outright lie. So if he lies about that, what else is he going to lie about? And even if somebody is not a liar, they certainly can make mistakes. He admitted that he made mistakes, which tarnished his reputation, he admits, in the O.J. Simpson case. Okay, so let's go here, and we're only going to look at the DNA information, and this is going to be a short video, but this is the killing of JonBenét Ramsey Wikipedia article. Blood samples. In December 2003, forensic investigators extracted enough material from a mixed blood sample found on JonBenét's underwear to establish a DNA profile. That DNA belonged to an unknown male person and excluded the DNA of each of the Ramseys. Okay? It excludes her parents and her brother. The DNA was submitted to the FBI's Combined DNA Index System, or CODIS, which we've all heard of, a database containing more than 1.6 million DNA profiles, but the sample did not match any profile in the database. And of course, 1.6 million is a lot of people, but there's, 336 million people in the United States, so that's 1/3 of 1% of the population. In October 2016, a report said that new forensic analysis with more sensitive techniques revealed that the original DNA contained genetic markers from 2 individuals other than JonBenét. So that leads to the theory that there were 2 intruders that were responsible. A. James Kolar, who was the lead investigator for the DA's office, said that there were additional traces of male DNA found on the cord and paintbrush that Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey did not mention, and that there were 6 separate DNA samples belonging to unknown individuals that were found by the test. Former FBI profiler Candace DeLong believes that the DNA, having shown up identically in several different places on multiple surfaces, belongs to the killer. Former Adams County, Colorado District Attorney Bob Grant, who has assisted the Boulder DA's office on the case for many years, also believes that the DNA evidence is significant, saying that any resolution of the case would have to explain how the DNA showed up on several pieces of JonBenét's clothing. And I think somewhere else in this article mentions that some of the DNA was found on her panties. Forensic pathologist Michael Baden said, quote, trace amounts of DNA can get on places and clothing from all different non-suspicious means. There is no forensic evidence to show that this is a stranger murder, unquote. So there's all kinds of reasons that two male DNA samples from different individuals can get on her, including a sample of DNA on her panties that are not from her family members. And according to Michael Baden, this is not suspicious and it doesn't prove a stranger murder. He still thinks that it was a family member. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with Dr. Michael Baden? Or do you think that there probably was one or two intruders who were responsible for it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section. I read all of them and eventually get around to responding to them. If you haven't already, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and be sure to check out Black Box Ned's channel, Black Box Online Radio. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.